It's Masappeal with Maziar Rezaei, talking about topics that interest you. This is the Masappeal show on Javanan radio, and today we have a talented dance artist and choreographer who's organizing the second annual International Iranian Dance Conference in Cambridge, Massachusetts this August 15th. Welcome, Miss Sheila Eghbali.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to connect with you again, Sheila. I spoke with you last week a little bit about the conference, and it just sounds like a really amazing conference. You have a master teachers there, and it's a 4-day conference. This is the second one that you're having, and I can't wait to hear more about it. And I wanted to really share this with our Javanan radio listeners and also in Javanan magazine. So if they're in the Boston area, if they can even get over there in August, it just seems like going to be a great experience and a great education in Iranian dance. And I know you must be really busy putting the conference together. It's just about a month away. And I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Of course.
So I want to start with the two really important questions that I ask on my show, Sheila. First one, I ask every guest. The first one is, what is your favorite Persian word?
Oh. That's a difficult one. I don't know. Tumar, maybe?
Whoa, what's Tumar? I haven't heard that one.
Means a really long letter. And it's just one of those things where a lot of times when I write people emails, they will tell me that I'm writing them a Tumar because it's never ending.
It's like saying you're writing a novel in English when they say, like, you wrote me a novel.
Kind of, but okay. It's just a very, very long letter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that many. I can't think of anything that really stands out.
I'm going to use that one, so I'm glad you said it. And the second question is, what is your favorite Persian food?
Oh, that one's fesenjun.
All right. Do you cook also? Like, is this something that you get when you go out? Or
what is it?
Is this something that you can get when you're in Massachusetts, or is this something you make yourself?
I make myself.
Oh, this. Yeah. So I heard it's kind of a difficult recipe.
No, you can actually have a shortcut to making it really quickly. Do you want me to tell you how?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to take 2 cups of walnuts, put them in a blender, add a little pinch of cinnamon, and then empty out a whole bottle of pomegranate paste. And whatever is left in the bottle, you add a little bit of water and wash it out. Add all of that to the blender, blend it all up. Saute some onions, 1 medium-sized or 2 small-sized onions, with some chicken, about 2 pounds, I think, of chicken, and then add that mix in and bring it to boil and let it simmer for an hour and a half.
And that's it?
That's it.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you, Sheila.
I don't add sugar to my fesenjun. Some people do.
You add what to it? You don't add what to it?
Sugar.
Oh, sugar. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Sheila, I mean, you're a chef too. I mean, this is awesome. Thank you for sharing your recipe on fesenjun. You're the first person to share their actual recipe. They just tell me they like it, but they don't make it. So you're the first on the show to do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, other than being a great chef, you're also a dance choreographer, and you're the organizer of this International Iranian Dance Conference, correct?
Correct.
4-day dance conference. It includes classes and lectures and performances of Iranian dance. And some of the ones that you had mentioned last week when I spoke to you, we can see on the website, are Robert De Warren. He's the former director of Iran's National Folkloric Dance Ensemble. Namus Sokrabov, Azerbaijan State Dance Ensemble choreographer. And also talks by Dr. Aida Meftai and Parham Hagii. And now, these are really great. They have great reputations. These are masters of Iranian dance. These are scholars of Iranian dance. Now, is this something that you think that only professional dancers can benefit from the conference, the Iranian Dance Conference? Or do you think that other people, like what kind of people can really benefit from this?
So the conference itself, and I'm going to add in a couple of guests. We also have Indira Mehpur, who's one of the former dancers of Mahalli Dancers, the National Folkloric Dance Ensemble, and we also have Dr. Lloyd Miller coming as a musicologist. And the conference is best for people who perform or teach or direct Iranian dances or Middle Eastern dances. It could be belly dancing, it could be some other form of dance. The thing with Iranian dances, especially folk dances, is that they have similarities with a wide range of other folk dances.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are interested in culture and they have a strong background in dance, they can really pick it up. Let's say someone's done years of ballet and they're just interested in culture and interested in doing some folk dances. This would be a great opportunity to pick up something new. Maybe someone's teaching dance at Farsi classes. This would be a great opportunity for them to come and learn four new dances and take it back to those schools and teach it to kids or adults, or perform it for the audiences. So it's, sometimes people just, there are people who come who don't perform, but just have a really strong interest in learning and accumulating the knowledge. But as long as they have a dance background or they're okay with the classes being taught at a master level, then they're welcome to come.
Okay, great. And so now, how many hours is the conference each day?
So every day we have 6 hours of dance workshops and about 2 hours of talks and other non-movement workshops. So it could be on the history and culture of a particular region where we're working on the dance. It could be on the music of that region and how to identify it. It could be on dance history. It could be on music history. So there are different talks that are kind of scattered throughout. And we are working on actually adding one more guest to our list who has played a crucial role in making dance performance legal by men in Iran in the recent years. And so it'd be really wonderful to have this additional guest join us, and it's very likely that we're going to have her.
Are you going to tell us who it is?
They're all going to be these talks that are scattered throughout the day, and the day starts around 9. The check-in is before 9, but the classes start at 9, and it ends around 5:45 or 6.
Wow, that's great. So,
days are long, but breakfast and lunch is included, and we have breaks in between sessions.
That's awesome. So it's a fully immersive program for somebody to come for 4 days and study, and they're going to get education on music and dances of Iran, and it sounds like so. Do you think that when you're saying is this for people who have some background in Iranian dance, like you were mentioning other Middle Eastern dancers, that maybe their dances are similar to Iranian folk dances? Like, are they really going to be able to, would you advise them to teach after they come to like a 4-day conference? You think that they'll be able to grasp, if they are already dancers, grasp enough to be able to teach it? What if they're not dancers, like professional dancers?
Right. So that's a really good question, and that's why people who come who are teachers, they can pick it up much more quickly, and then they will be in a position to teach it. Mm-hmm. And people who might not have that kind of a background, they might learn enough to go back and practice a little bit, or they might teach something kind of casually but not formally, and they would need more training. So it really depends on the person's background.
Yeah.
When I go to Iran and I study dance there, I study very intensively. And so we just go through like move after move and write it and video it and, just ask all the questions, make sure I know everything. And then I have to come back and walk through that again. So there's a lot of studying that comes after going through master workshops and doing intensive.
So I'm going to get a little bit to your education, and I want to ask you that a little bit later in the show, because I'm very interested in how your background and why you got started in the putting together the dance conference. We're going to take a quick break. On the Masappeal show, we're talking to Sheila Eghbali, the organizer of the International Iranian Dance Conference. This is the second annual. And are there any kind of, I know obviously you like to, music that you can, maybe classical music. Is there anything you like to listen to? That we play mostly contemporary stuff on the station, but is there any artists that you like and we can play one of their songs?
Oh, I like Sina Hijazi.
Okay, all right. Is there any song in particular?
Well, I like a lot of his music. There's one song that's very nice. It's called, I think it's called Baridam.
Okay.
Or Barun, something like that.
Okay. Take a break and we'll listen to some Sina Hijazi, and we're talking to Sheila Eghbali, and we'll be right back.
داری میری ولی یادت تو قلبم جا میمونه دیدی منم اون که آخر این قصه تنها میمونه. تو که میگفتی این دنیا بی چشمام دلگیره، تو که میگفتی این گلدون بی بارون میمیره. باریدم گل دادی، باریدم تا دیدم گل دادی، گلدون از بارون بیزار شد، لعنت به چشمی که بیمار شد. باریدم گل دادی، باریدم تا دیدم گل دادی، گلدون از بارون بیزار شد، لعنت به چشمی که بیمار شد. داری میری ولی یادت نره، جون منو به هم قول دادی. داری میری ولی یادت نیست مست عطرتی چون گل دادی. ببین خدایی حیف نبود میونه اون همه چشم حسود، من و تو با هم شاد بودیم کجا بود. بگو چی شد یا دلتو زدم، من که با تو خوبم با همه بدم. بگو یا چی شد بارون بده شد، چی شد یا گلم دل زده شد، چی شد یا گلم دور شد و چی شد یا مغرور شد و چی شد باریدم گل دادی، باریدم تا دیدم گل دادی.
رادیو جوانان، رادیوی هنرمندان.
دوستداران مجله محبوب جوانان، باز هم ایده و خدمتی جدید. این بار رادیو جوانان هم به خانه شما می آید. رادیو و مجله جوانان، پل ارتباطی ایرانیان از قلب لس آنجلس.
رادیو جوانان را روی شبکه جهانی اینترنت و تلفن‌های هوشمند گوش کنید.
All right, we're back on the Masappeal show. How are you doing, Sheila?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. So are you super busy right now and putting this Iranian dance conference together next month?
Yes.
Every time I try to schedule something, I'm like...
into all the planning and
all the planning, yeah. I mean, you're trying to schedule an interview with you. You're like, when is the exact one? Because I'm headed out the door. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So I know you're busy throughout the day. So now I'm hoping I can actually come in August myself. I would love. I mean, this just sounds so amazing. When I first even heard about it, when you did the first annual one, I was so drawn to it, and I just thought this is. And I sent you a congratulations email because I was like, thank goodness somebody's putting something like this together, and it's really great. I think it's such great education that dancers of any kind of background would really benefit from, especially if they're performing Iranian dance, So I know that you had mentioned it was hard to get some of the teachers to get involved and to agree to do something like this, and some of them had mentioned didn't want to be involved in dance anymore. Now, what drove you to get these particular teachers involved? Why were these teachers important for you to get involved in the conference?
So the people who we mostly really push to bring are people who have tried and true background in dances of Iran, folk dances of Iran. And so we were looking for people who've actually gone to the regions and done studies with the people in the region and have learned from local masters. And so we have validity of their work. And one of the things that we'd like to do in the near future is to actually bring some local masters from Iran to the U.S. It's a longer process. But right now we're working with the resources that we have. So Robert De Warren was funded in the 70s to spend 7 years traveling around Iran and archiving and documenting and researching dances from various corners of Iran. And a lot of these dances had never been seen before, and some have never been seen because they never made it to stage.
Wow.
Wow. And so the work that he's done is unique. It's never been done before, and it's very systematic, and a lot of the archived work was destroyed in 79.
That's so awful. That's awful.
Yeah, but, we're hoping that through our efforts we can bring some of that back and, hear some of the videos, and through some of his resources we can bring some of that knowledge back and use it before, moving on. And then Mr. Zokhabov that I've invited, he also has, an immense amount of experience. His name is uttered in Azerbaijan as one of the legendary dancers and choreographers of Azeri dance. And so, again, he's someone who is well-versed and spent years and years, 2 decades, in fact, just performing and studying Azeri dance. And so that is a really great resource for us to have to teach the dances of Azerbaijan.
Oh, sure.
And I think one of the things that I have a very strong interest in is bringing attention to the dances from all over the country, because often Iran is portrayed as one country and one culture, but it's really one country and many cultures that really coexist and have a very long history of having been there and having influenced one another in different ways. And a lot of that is shown through their music and through their dance.
Oh, and through costuming. I mean, sometimes you look at they look so different from each other. I mean, across the board, I think dances in general have some similar footwork, but when you talk about accents and you talk about music and you talk about, the way the move can look completely different, even if the footwork is somewhat similar, just in them doing, from the north to south, or different villages or different regions. And I just think it's so interesting how different, the dances in Iran can look. When people say Iranian dance or classical Iranian dance, it's just when you're talking about the era, you're talking about the region, they could look so different. And are you going to go over any of the costuming is anyone going to go over costuming as well?
Yeah, so each of the dances have a 30-minute intro set up for them, where the instructor will talk about the culture of the region and the costumes and so forth. And part of the idea is that to really be able to perform a dance authentically, the dancers have to put themselves in the shoes of the people who live there and really feel the way those people feel in order to be able to perform it accurately. Yeah. I think a lot of times people will learn certain moves and do them in the context of some other style that they know. So let's say they have a ballet background, and they will translate what they see into their bodies the way that they translate into ballet.
Sure.
But if they really understand, okay, this is a place where they're dancing on a bare ground and they're connected to the earth and whatever it might be, or they're going around a fire or whatever the ceremony might be, and they really imagine being in that place and having the feelings of those people, then the performance takes on a very different feel, and you can then convey that to the audience and can really have a very enriching cultural experience.
Now, that actually goes into my next question, Sheila. I was going to ask you, when you see Iranian dance performed in the U.S. abroad, and having been well educated in dance yourself and talking to these masters and knowing that this information is out there, and giving the benefit of the doubt to a performer who may not have access to that information and wasn't able to. So that's why I think, again, this conference is so important, the International Iranian Dance Conference, because it's providing that information where sometimes people don't have access to or don't know where to find. So, but, when you see it, even though they're maybe doing the best they can, but do you think it's performed, how often do you see it performed authentically, like Iranian dance and the different, maybe dance of the different regions, or that, do you think that people need this kind of conference to perform, well, I guess you answered that already, perform the dance correctly, but, how often do you see it performed correctly?
I think it's a difficult question to answer, but one of the things I've seen is costuming tends to be inaccurate. And, for some reason there's a Turkish costume pattern that's become very popular among people who do Iranian dance. And that's not seen anywhere in Iran. And so I think that's one of the things that I see a lot. And another part is there's a lot of artistic liberty taken and then that artistic liberty is passed on as authentic dance form. So one of the things that I think is very important is when you teach a dance, you need to be able to say, this is what the people in the region do, and this is how I did it differently, just to be artistically varied and have some variation, but just know where the authentic form is.
Right.
Because every time people take artistic liberty and change things, you take steps away from the authentic form. And, I think there's some dance groups that come somewhat close to some of the classical dances, but folk dances are rarely performed and rarely performed correctly, and even less frequently performed with music that is from that region. So a lot of times you see Bandari dances or Southern dances played to music that is really not Southern. Southern music is very, very particular. It has an African beat. It has bagpipes, and people often don't hear that. So I think bringing some of that authentic music and costuming and moves in makes it very different. So when I went to Iran and studied some of the Southern dances, I realized how different it was from some of the things I had actually learned from other people here.
Oh, yeah. The interpretations are different, right?
It's just a very interesting thing to see the differences. I think some people really try. Some people have good sources, but it's been pretty limited in terms of access and being able to learn from people who are really skilled at it.
Right. Yeah, I have to say, even I recently did performance and sometimes do Iranian dance performances, but I try to really gear towards my stuff is more just modern social dance. And if I've done a classical dance, it's just I've gone through whatever research I had, and it's been hard, from the Qajar period, doing something from there, because the historical documents or anything that I had access to, there wasn't anything very specific in movements.
Yeah.
But, I did the best I could from maybe paintings or any kind of research or whatever that I was able to get access to. And I do the performance with my group, and then people say, oh, I'm from this country, and actually your costume looks like from this country. Like maybe a hat, just something. I had maybe a detail on a hat, and they said that's from this country. It's like that's how different it is. I can look at a picture, and the way I interpret it, if I'm not careful, I can do something. And I was just like, wow, it's just so interesting because they identify with it so clearly to them. Someone from another country can say, or, a different part of Iran can say, that's actually from here. And I think that's why it's so important, those details, when somebody thinks of Iranian dance, they might not know. And I just know that from even the dance community, not many people know the differences in the different regions. And I can sit down and I'll look at stuff and I'll say, oh, I really can see the difference from north-south, from Bandari music as opposed to somebody doing a pop song and then doing Bandari dance, I want to get into some of the background of your dance, Sheila. I didn't know you actually went to Iran, so that's really, really great. I want to hear more about that. We're going to take another quick break on the Masappeal show on Javanan Radio. We're talking to organizer of the second annual International Iranian Dance Conference held in Massachusetts, August 15th or 18th, with Miss Sheila Eghbali, am I saying your last name right? I think I asked you before. It's Eghbali, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Eghbali, yeah.
Okay. Miss Sheila Eghbali, who is the organizer of the International Dance Conference. So we'll be right back.
من با خیال توی عمر شب زنده داری میکنم من به امید داشتنت یأس و فراری میکنم با آرزوی دیدنت زل میزنم به پنجره من ناخودآگاه اشکم و روگونه جاری میکنم لحظه به لحظه روز و شب غرق نیازم از خدا آخر شب از عمق دل دعایی کاری میکنم دل با پس حال تو هم غمگینم از دوری تو برای سر رسیدنت لحظه شماری میکنم روزمو با تو بهاری میکنم، با آرزوی دیدنت زل میزنم به پنجره، من ناخودآگاه اشکمو رو گونه جاری میکنم. لحظه به لحظه روز و شب غرق نیازم از خدا، آخر یه شب از عمق دل دعایی کاری میکنم. دل واپس حال تو غمگینم از دوری تو، برای سر رسیدن لحظه شماری میکنم.
در خدمت آقای بهروز وثوقی، اسطوره سینما ایران هستیم.
تشکر میکنم از شما. منم به شما سلام میکنم و به شنوندگانتون درود میفرستم و امیدوارم که این رادیو واقعا مثمر ثمر واقع بشه و جوانان بتونن واقعا خیلی خوب از این برنامه ها استفاده بکنن.
رادیو جوانان را روی شبکه جهانی اینترنت و تلفن‌های هوشمند گوش کنید.
رادیو جوانان، رادیوی هنرمندان.
We're back on the Masappeal show on Javanan Radio. Want to welcome back our guest, Sheila Eghbali. How are you, Sheila?
I'm doing well, thank you so much.
Okay, I know it was such a long break. So I know we just played a song. Now, wanted to, before the break, we were talking about, I didn't know this when I spoke to you last week, but you actually went to Iran and studied Iranian dance there. Now, when did you get started in Iranian dance? And this, I just want to hear maybe like what you were first exposed to, you know, being somebody who's now organizing the International Iranian Dance Conference, what you were first exposed to Iranian dance.
Yeah. So I grew up in Iran, and I did my first set of dance classes there. And I come from the kind of lineage of Madame Yelena. At the time, she was a well-known teacher, but she didn't teach anymore. And she lived in the same building where I took my dance classes from some of her former students. And that's how I got started in dance. And you know, while we did some folk dances, we had a lot of technique training. We did ballet, and we did a lot of classical dance. And we did different, you know, Azeri dances and Armenian dances and so forth. And then those classes were closed down, and we moved to the U.S. shortly after. And most of the rest of my training here, a lot of it has been just working, like choreographing, which is what we had just started learning when I left. So working on choreography on my own and working on dances. And then I had a couple of opportunities, both in terms of some Western dances like ballet and jazz and hip-hop. But I also had the opportunity to work with the student organization at the University of California, Davis. So that's where I went to college. And I spent many, many years after that choreographing and working with the students there. And I did a workshop with Avaz Dance Ensemble. But for the most part, it was very inaccessible to learn more dance, and I was hitting a wall in terms of what I knew. When I could, I went back to Iran about 9 years ago, and I did some folk dance training there, and that's where I got started in doing some of the folk dances. And I came back, and I worked on some of those dances that I learned, and I taught some of those. And I hit another wall, and that was when I established a first conference. And the first conference was really the result of several years of me persisting, because I had found Mr. Robert de Warren, and I knew he was such an asset. And I really wanted to learn from him. And we were finally able to connect, and he agreed to come out and teach. And I lived in Boston at the time, but he agreed that it might be best to hold something in California. So we planned the first event for San Francisco. We have it at San Francisco Ballet. And that's where I continued some of my other folk dance work. And I went back to Iran last year, and I did some more work, mostly focusing on southern dances from Bushehr, Bandar Abbas, and Baluchistan. And I also took a 10-day trip alone along that region and just traveled through and really tried to soak in the culture. So that's kind of been my journey through dance and the continuation of it. And I think part of my motivation around it, besides the fact that it has been so difficult to access it and classes are underground and whatnot, even in Iran, is that I belong to an ethnic minority, and I think that as an ethnic minority in Iran, I see why it's important to value every group of Iranian people, and that Iran is really, it's beautiful because it's such a diverse country, and few people really truly understand what that looks like. And part of the way they can see what that looks like is seeing the cultures and the traditions through dance. And so some of the things that we do is dances often are wedding ceremonies, they could be funeral ceremonies, they could be
really at funeral ceremonies too,
cultural events, and they portray part of the culture and the dance and the movement and the costumes and the music all together in one piece. So in a 15-minute piece, you can really share a little piece of that pie with your audience. So that's really a big interest of mine, is to go back through, uncover those dances, many of which are forgotten, many of which are dying out because they're not being passed down from generation to generation. And be able to preserve it and promote it and demonstrate to both Iranians and non-Iranians alike the beautiful, diverse culture that we have.
Wow. That was beautifully said. We could just end the show now. I mean, that was like... Did you say that they do dances at funerals?
Yeah.
Okay, this is very new to me because I thought that was taboo with Iranian dance.
So, I think once you really dive into the different cultures of different regions, there's different reasons why people dance. And so with certain regions were often in battle, and so a lot of the dances have to do with battle and war and agility and being strong, while other places never encountered war. Like the nomads were not warriors, and so their dances are very joyful, and they have scarves that they move around in their hands, and it's a much more low-key, joyful dance. And then you move down to the south, and there's a strong influence from Africa and from the Arab countries and cultures that have come and gone. And you see that both in the population there. It's a very diverse population in the south. And then you see it in the instrumentation. So some of the musical instruments that they play are straight out of Africa. They have a horn from an animal that only lives in Africa. And that particular instrument actually used for funeral ceremonies with a drum, and they just go through and play a particular rhythm, and there's a very somber dance that goes with it. And then they have, there are some of those traditions that have come from different cultures and they have mixed in with the cultures of the southern region. And so you definitely see funeral ceremonies there. And then there are some funeral ceremonies around the Zoroastrian culture, and I'm not that familiar with it, so I won't speak to that. But it's definitely part of the different dances. And then the other category that I can think of are spiritual dances. And so Sama dances, which were traditionally done by men, were a way of entering a trance. And that's something that's become very prominent in the past 30 years to incorporate some of those moves into classical dances, while the previous 30 years or so was when ballet was really influencing Iranian dance, and then prior to that was a very strong influence of Azeri dancers into classical dance. There's all the eras of different influences on what's made classical dance. The regional dances are very strongly influenced by different cultures that have come and gone. And so it's not always necessarily for the same purpose. And really understanding what goes on in that region tells you a lot about them. Like the southern dancers a lot of times have fishermen dances, and their moves has to do with fishing. You will not find that in the mountains.
Right.
So it's very much region-oriented, and tells you a lot about their everyday life.
Very cool. So Now, you're for those people who can't come to Boston for whatever reason, and we're hoping that, you know, we see a lot of, we want our listeners to know about this conference, and they'll be able to come in August. It's about a month away, so it's a good amount of time to still plan. August 15th to 18th in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the Iranian Dance Conference. But if they want to help out, Sheila, and they're hearing how important this conference is, and or something drawn to them, like I was very drawn to, you know, wanting to help you guys out. Now, is there a way to donate to ensure that this is going to be ongoing, and then that, you know, you mentioned maybe Florida next year, that you guys will come to their city and this is an ongoing thing? Like, how can you know, the audience help you guys out?
Yeah, actually, we would love for the audience to help us out in fundraising. We have a fundraising campaign going on that's linked to my site. I'm going to tell you what my website is,
okay,
and give directions. That's the easiest way, because the website is easier to get to. It's my full name.com. So Sheila Eghbali, SheilAeghbali.com. And once people go to the main website, they will see the International Iranian Dance Conference link on the top left. We've made it very obvious with a red background.
Yeah, I see it.
Like whatever we're focusing on, we try to make it very obvious. So once they click on that, they're going to get all the information about the conference. They're going to get the donation links. The donation link is also on the main page, but our campaign is under the conference webpage.
Okay, great.
So we would love for people to donate. And, you know, certainly if they would like to get information about our next conference, we can keep them on our list. We might be having a video that comes out from the conference, and that might be something we can make available to the public. It depends on exactly what we produce. We do have videographers for the event. So we're going to try to make this as accessible to everybody as possible. Even outside of the conference hours, we have free talks scheduled for the people who live in Boston to attend and hear from our guest artists, just to share our resource with the community at large, and really not limit what we have to the dancers. So we have these events outside of the conference scheduled simultaneously to connect with the community as well.
Oh, great. Okay, so SheilaEghbali.com, and it's going to have a little box at the top left, and you guys can click that and go to the International Iranian Dance Conference page, and we'll also put that up so that people can see that on the Javanan Radio Facebook, and we'll put it online as well, so people can find you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and this is just really awesome, and I hope I can make it in August and meet you in person and learn there as well. It just sounds like such a great experience, and what a great education in 4 days of having access to this kind of education and this information people might not always have access to unless you're traveling to Iran. So these are masters that have been there and they've studied there, and you know, maybe their life's practice has been in that, and they're gonna, you know, share some of that information at the conference. It just sounds like a really great event. So thank you again, Sheila. Thanks for talking with us today. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we'll be maybe catching up with you again, maybe briefly before the conference or after the conference, and we'll talk a little bit about how it went. But in the meantime, you guys can check out SheilaEghbali.com. Is there also a Facebook page or anywhere else that they can follow you, Sheila?
Yes. So on Facebook, our organization, which, by the way, all donations are tax deductible, our organization is under Iranian Performing Arts.
Okay.
And so if you add that page in, it's a nonprofit organization, you will get all of our updates. And the event is under the same page. So everything we post under Iranian Performing Arts.
Iranian Performing Arts. Great.
درسته بله اونم حق داره قلبش از دست من شکسته یه وقتایی، ولی این که مقصر فقط من باشم نخیر، تو هم منو تنها گذاشتی چند باری. مثلا بعد این که بغلش کردی دیگه راه برگشت نیست، تو که حوصلت سر نمیره همه جا هستی دیگه چرا برگشتی؟ حال بعد این روزامو یادت باشه، تو که قلبت عاشق نبود میدونم، هر چقدر میخواد حالا سر تو آره چرا آخرش بد شد آخه الان که عطرش هوایت کرده الان که گرمی کنارش خیالت تخته ولی باز پاییز میشه گب سرده کی دستاتو میگیره کی واسد مثل من میشه دنبال رد پا میچون دلت تنگ میشه حال بد این روزامو یادت باشه تو که قلب تاشه نبود میدونم هر چقدر دلت میخواد حالا سر تو آره چرا آخرش بد شد آخه حال بد این روزامو یادت باشه تو که قلب تاشه نبود میدونم هر چقدر دلت میخواد حالا سر تو آره چرا آخرش بد شد آخه حال بد این روزامو یادت باشه هر چقدر دلت میخواد